Hello, gorgeous. Quick question for you. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag, floating in the wind, wishing to start again? Well, maybe you're lacking motivation. That was a weird segue, wasn't it? But today we're going to talk about self-determination theory, which is a broad psychological theory covering motivation and, generally speaking, self-actualization. Let's get into it. So self-determination theory is the brainchild of a number of experiments, which started in about the 1970s-ish, but it keeps getting applied all the way up to today in various areas of psychology, sport, business, you name it. And it came from an initial study by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, which found out that actually, if there's an external motivation, it can actually undermine somebody's intrinsic motivation to do something. Let's translate what that actually means. If you're going to do a task, you're going to do a job or something, receiving an external motivation for that, such as monetary reward, such as social proof, approval of other people, they found that it can actually undermine your motivation to do that thing. That sounds really weird, doesn't it? But let's delve into the theory in a bit more detail. So self-determination theory suggests that people are most motivated when there is three underlying psychological principles which are met. This is the need for autonomy, for competence, and relatedness. What we're going to do is I'm going to explain each one of those and give you some examples in order. So let's start with autonomy. Autonomy refers to being in control of your actions, or otherwise being self-engaged in an activity, i.e., you actually want to do it. You don't need a motivation like somebody else telling you to do it. When people are engaged in autonomous behavior, this means that they really do want to do that thing, and their behaviors are aligned very closely with their beliefs and their values. What you're looking for here is something called congruence, i.e. the things are nice and they agree with each other. So if you believe something and you're doing it, good. That's autonomous, and you have a choice behind doing that action. You'll feel good when you do it as well. So as an example, you're at work and your manager gives you a task to do. This might sound like it's not autonomous. However, step 2 of that is they say, you can kind of do it how you want to. I trust your creativity. I trust your decision process. All I want is that the end goal is achieved. I don't really care how you do it, ethically, hopefully. And so in that situation, the employee would feel autonomous. They would feel ownership in their behavior and their actions, which would increase their motivation to do it. Now, the opposite example of this, and this is one close to home because I work in academia, is where a teacher or somebody like that would give you an assignment to do, and they would give you everything about the assignment. So they would give you the structure, they would give you the topic, they would give you how you're supposed to write your intro, your main part, your conclusion, whatever. And essentially, you don't have a lot of choice as a student there about how you actually do that assignment. That would undermine and lower an intrinsic motivation. And so here's my advice to employees and students, etc. Even if you are told a task to do, even if you give like a deadline or you're given a project that you know what the outcome is supposed to be, you want to try and take into control how you do that. You want to actually put your own spin on it and have your own reasons to do it and do it in your own way. I'm not saying break the rules. I'm not saying go off the brief entirely, because those things exist for a reason. But if you want to be more motivated, do it in your own way to a degree. Next up is competence. Now, competence is the feeling of being able to do something. So if you're very, very good at a particular skill, or you've got a lot of knowledge in a particular thing, you're generally considered competent at that. And the opposite end of that scale is when you're not good at that thing, you lack the skill. And at the high end of competence, you'd be considering calling that something like mastery. Now, the difficult part of this is that we all want to be really, really good at things, but that doesn't happen overnight. And so how do we increase our competence? Well, I'm actually going to take some advice from the literature about flow here. And this is the idea that you can achieve a flow state by being sufficiently challenged in a certain thing. Not over-challenged and not under-challenged. So the thing that you are trying to do or trying to develop, it should be just above your ability right now, but not too far. If the challenge is too much, that's when you're on the road to burnout. If the challenge is too little, that's when you're on the road to something called bore out, which is a funny play on words there, isn't it? A good example of this would be the likes of a coach who is challenging a sports person to achieve just a little bit better, a tiny bit better than what they've been doing so far. So when they achieve that thing, their confidence grows, their competence grows, and they're more likely to be committed to that eventual end goal. The opposite side of this, and I have an absolute beef with bad management, is when criticisms will be offered or you'll get told off at work, etc., but there will be no constructive feedback there, no way to improve, no reason why the criticism was there. So essentially, they would be calling you incompetent, but not giving you a way to enhance your competence. If the thing that you're trying to gain motivation in doesn't actually rely on other people, it's not maybe a situation where you're in work and it doesn't rely on like a boss or something like that, then you can set your own level of challenge. As an example, I'm trying to learn Spanish at the moment on Duolingo, and let's just say it's going bueno. Thank you. But sometimes I have those lessons, and you must know what I mean if you're on Duolingo right now, that just seem way too hard, and there's just a particular mistake that you can't get, and then you get one letter wrong and it won't give it you, etc. And so it's incredibly frustrating, and I feel stupid, and I feel like a failure there. My lack of competence could really undermine my motivation there. However, I've developed a tactic. It's to scroll way back in Duolingo and go to those first few lessons you ever did and just find yourself nailing those. You know, I can say hello to anyone in Spanish. And just going back and reviewing the skills I already have, it reminds me of my own competence, and it puts me into that nice state of self-improvement again. Okay, last up is relatedness. This is the feeling of being cared for, nurtured, and belonging to a group, a system, you name it. Now, there's a really important part of relatedness that I need to kind of cover. It's not just about other people accepting you and your goals and your actions, behaviors, whatever, but it's also about giving back to those people. So it's about fostering a good, mutually beneficial, mutual respect environment between you and others. It's about putting yourself in a context where you really matter. This reciprocal relationship between you and the other people in the situation. You're working on something, they're working on something, you're helping them, they're helping you, and that's high relatedness. So a great example of this would be a team with a collective, collaborative environment. So you've each got individual roles, however the ultimate goal is the same thing. There's regular check-ins between individuals, and there's camaraderie. And everyone in that group feels like they belong there. And of course, a bad example of this would be maybe management that ignores certain people for their opinions, for their inputs. It would be clickiness, favoritism, nepotism. Anything which makes an individual feel slightly pushed out from a group is detrimental to their motivation and everyone in the group. So let's take a step back and really think about what the combination of these three things means. If autonomy is low, you don't feel like you have a choice in this thing. If competence is low, you don't feel very good at it. If relatedness is low, you don't feel that sense of belonging. Then I'm not saying you can't do the thing. You could do it, but you'd feel incredibly unmotivated. If there's a motivation there which is going to be present, it's likely to be extrinsic, so you're only doing it because of something like money. However, that's not very healthy for you psychologically. So drawing on that humanistic literature, which a lot of this idea is based on the other end of the scale, if you have high autonomy, this is a task which you want to do maybe on your day off, etc. If you are competent in that thing, so you're not perfect at it, but you're getting better at it, or you're very good right now. And if you have that feeling of relatedness, so you actually feel like part of a bigger picture, you've got a reason to be there, then you're likely to be very motivated to do that thing. And the motivation is going to be intrinsic. You get that feeling of love and passion from doing the thing. It's incredibly beneficial for you psychologically. So another long one there, but let's do a quick summary. So let's turn this into 3 questions which can improve your motivation. Do I have control over this thing? i.e., do I really want to do it? Am I good at it? Or can I improve at it over time? And am I part of a bigger picture? A picture that I want to be part of? That 3 question turned into 6, but you get the idea. Okay, hope you found that interesting. If there's any more psychological theories you want my opinions on and want me to cover, then let me know in the comments. As always, stay beautiful. Bye.